Good morning. I would like to welcome everybody to the County of Chautauqua Industrial Development Agency Board of Directors meeting. We're at the BWB Building, 201 West 3rd Street, Jamestown, New York. We're also streaming live on YouTube. It's August 25th, 2026 at 10:30. We'll start with roll call. Gary Henry's here. Dan Hetzenrader. Here. Amy Harding.
Here.
Kevin Muldowney.
Here.
Tom Harmon.
Here.
Dan DeMart.
Here.
John Healy.
Here.
Ed Whitman.
Here.
You should have already received the minutes from the June 23rd, 2026 meeting and had a chance to review those. Do we have a motion to accept those minutes?
So move.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes have been accepted. We'll go ahead and move right into new business. A Lindstrom Properties LLC, known as Lakeshore Paving, presented by Rosie and Millen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have Mark Lindstrom here with me. He's the president of Lakeshore Paving. Before I pass it on to Mark and then Millen to review the resolutions, I'm just going to read a brief description of the company and then the project itself. So Lakeshore Paving was founded in 1998 by Steve Lindstrom with the premise of offering quality workmanship while instilling an employee-first culture within. 25 years later, son Mark Lindstrom has taken the lead as president and continues with the same mission and mindset. Many of the original employees are still with the company as a testament to the Lindstrom's culture and management practices, offering construction services starting with their estimating department, site work grading, clearing and demolition, asphalt milling, paving, underground utility installations, pavement maintenance, including seal coating and line stripping, tennis court installation, repair, and more. Lakeshore Paving is looking to construct a new 21,000 square foot facility, which will house offices, maintenance, and repair facility. Field employees will report to this location and be dispatched from there to work sites. Lakeshore Paving is constructing this new facility because they are landlocked at their current location and are unable to expand their business. Total project cost is just over $4.8 million. Lindstrom Properties or Lakeshore Paving has requested a 10-year pilot. This project is requesting sales tax exemption, mortgage reporting tax abatement, and property tax abatement. The pilot will produce city affected taxing jurisdiction over the life of the project in the amount of $425,542, with property tax exempt $992,000. Sales tax savings being requested is in the amount of $300,000, and mortgage tax savings is $23,700. Lakeshore Paving is looking to retain 69 jobs and create 5 over the next 3 years. In your packet, I've also included your cost benefit analysis with a benefit to cost ratio of 73:1. The timeline for this project, construction is estimated in the fall of this year, with completion estimated at the spring of next year, summer 2027. Jeanette, do you mind sharing the plan on the screen? So I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Mr. Lindstrom. He will be able to talk more as to why this expansion project is necessary and answer any questions the board may have.
So our current location is in the city of Jamestown on Osmer Street. We have about 7 acres there. This site here provides us with about 45 acres. As the company's grown, we continue to acquire equipment, things like concrete forms, stuff that's got to get stored until it's ready to be used, different materials for job sites, things like that. And our current maintenance facility where we work on equipment is just, the company's outgrown the building. The site in Jamestown just doesn't have room. We're constrained amongst houses, and it's not conducive to the heavy truck traffic and things that we bring with it. Again, as we've grown, our trucks get bigger, the loads they haul get bigger, and being in the industrial complex, we feel like is a better suit and overall allowing us to continue to grow the business. If we stayed where we were, we'd have to kind of stay the size we are. With the new facility, we'd be able to add mechanics, additional laborers, and continue the path forward.
I will add, I apologize, Mark had shared some site plans. They're all in your board packet. For some reason, the image is not showing clear on the screen, but there is, on the image, you should have in your package, an outline of the building and the roads leading in. Okay, I apologize for some reason it's not clear on here. Is there any questions for Mr. Lindstrom?
I just have one more thing, you know, Mark approached us, year ago, maybe more.
Yep.
About our parcel in Mason Industrial Park, our 40-acre parcel. And because we had received, not us, but the BPU had received a Power Up grant to upgrade the electricity running to that site. There was a sort of a profile of the companies that would qualify to locate there. And this did not meet that profile. So we worked with Mark to try to find other land around in the industrial park. Which that's the only parcel that we own, but other companies like Weber Knapp had additional space, additional land, and he negotiated with them, and here we are. So it's a good location also because of there's really no houses around. And I know that you said that it really has become an issue when you're crushing concrete and doing other activities, big trucks and, you know, in and out. So this is really, and that's what industrial parks are for, right?
Right.
Thank you, Mark. Is there any questions from the board for Mr. Lindstrom? All right.
Exciting. It'll be growing.
This is your standard due diligence resolution. It authorizes and instructs staff and council to start the due diligence process. So we would hold a public hearing. We would look at SECRA, the environmental component. We would look at the corporate documents and to see if there's any other legal issues that we should take care of. As Mark noted, this is a relocation. So there's certain legal steps we have to go through in terms of relocating from one jurisdiction to another. So this just authorizes us to go through all that process. And if things go well, we would come back either at September or possibly the October meeting when and if all that is wrapped up with a bow and ask you for approval, presumably or tentatively with the financial assistance that Rosie outlined. But again, we would analyze all of that and come back to you at a later date.
Just to be clear, he is not abandoning the old location. He's continuing to own that and use it for a lot of storage of the equipment and more, maybe the more aggressive activities will occur over here.
That's correct. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions? Hearing none. Dan Hetzenrader, can you move new business A1 for us?
Gladly, I'll move resolution 08-25-601, due diligence resolution and preliminary agreement, Lindstrom Properties LLC, Paving Inc.
Thank you. And do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, John. We'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Dan Hetzenrader.
Aye.
Amy Harding.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney.
Aye.
Tom Harmon.
Aye.
Dan DeMart.
Aye.
John Healy.
Aye.
Ted Whitman.
Aye.
And the resolution is unanimously approved. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mark.
Next, we'll move into new business B, Lancaster Foods, presented by Shelby, Christine, and Millen.
So as most of you are aware, we had a lease agreement that expired in May, I believe, the end of May, with Lancaster Foods for the location at 12 Howard Street in Silver Creek. So this resolution would be extending that lease through the end of July of 2027. There were some of the tax liability that had not been paid in total. The last payment of $8,000 was not made, according to our original agreement. So what this is going to do is basically take that along with the, 2026 village tax, property tax that the IDA paid on behalf of Lancasters. The combination of that and then the remaining liability, and we're basically going to spread that over, in 12 equal payments from, 8/1, which the payment did clear in August for that, through 7/31 of 2027. So it's just extending the current lease, adjusting that payment plan, and everything else holds the same. Again, we became involved last fall, basically to retain the jobs. We also have notes, with the Lancasters for that business. And we had, CCIDA also has a note with a principal balance of 77,000, I believe. So we're just kind of protecting, that side of it, the jobs, and, also trying to keep that business in Silver Creek as well. So that, it's not purchased by somebody outside of the county. They have been on full principal and interest payments since January with us and have made all of their, payments timely. They're current on the CCIDA note. And then we also have the same, potential purchase price in the lease extension that we had in the original lease. So if they do meet all of their obligations in July, we can broach that subject and see if they wanted to purchase it back. Did I miss anything?
I just wanted to say one other thing, a little more context. You probably all know who this is, but it's Barbara Krosky Pierogies, right? Silver Creek. If you recall, their building had come up for foreclosure, non-payment of taxes. We stepped in. We acquired the building, we paid the taxes, the IDA, and then we worked out this payment plan with the Lancaster. And as Shelby said, they've been pretty good about keeping up, but we need to extend.
Yeah.
Extend it. We wanted to keep the jobs there. I mean, if it went into foreclosure, think about it. Who knows who would have bought it, right? And what would have happened there? There's several jobs there, a business. So we did all this to try to maintain those jobs and keep them. And we're doing even more now to do the same.
And it's worth noting too, that within 3 months of us acquiring the property, they paid down 22,500 of the back taxes. So
Right.
they have made significant progress on their payments. They just need a little bit more time.
Any questions? Amy, can you move new business B1 for us?
Absolutely. Resolution 08-25-26-02, lease extension resolution, Lancaster Foods.
Did you have something to add?
Yes, before you take a vote, Kevin Muldowney has approached me, and he is going to abstain. He does not have a legal conflict in opinion, but has potential other business relations with the Lancasters unrelated to this facility, but to avoid even the appearance of impropriety or any conflict, he's decided to abstain. So I want to make that comment as to why I suspect in a minute or two he's going to abstain.
Okay.
But again, it's not a legal conflict. He doesn't have to, and I've told him that, but he wants to go above and beyond and, not have any questions.
We appreciate that. Do we have a second on resolution B1?
I'll second it.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and do a roll call. Gary Henry votes aye. Dan Hetzenrader.
Aye.
Amy Harding.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney.
Abstain.
Tom Harmon.
Aye.
Dan Demart.
Aye.
John Healy.
Aye.
Ted Whitman.
Aye.
So the resolution is unanimously approved with one abstention. And I'd just like to commend the IDA and the whole team. I mean, it's a lot of work doing something like this. It's, it sounds simple here, but there's a lot of behind the scenes and a lot of work goes into saving this business and the jobs and retaining all that. So very well done.
It's creative problem solving.
Yeah.
It really is amazing. Most IDAs would just say this is too small, not with our time and effort, but Shelby above and beyond.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move into new business C, CCIDA approving entry into agreement with National Grid presented by Nate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the board may recall, a few months back, we accepted a grant in the amount of $675,000 from Empire State Development to explore the feasibility of developing the Eagle Bay site in the town of Sheridan into a commerce park in the future. And soon thereafter, we actually received an additional $500,000 award from National Grid through their Strategic Economic Development Grant Program, actually larger than we had expected. So that's good news. So what this means is we're now fully funded with a total program budget of $1.35 million, of which the IDA and county share is going to be less than 10% on a two-phase look into Eagle Bay, starting with environmental and site due diligence, looking to see if there's any, deal breakers that would prohibit us from taking a harder look at developing the site. And then the second phase, additional planning, engineering, and development readiness work. So things like noise impact studies, traffic studies, seeker, infrastructure analysis, working potentially with National Grid to look at electric extensions to the site, potentially doing a NISO study to bring more than 10 megawatts of power to the site, infrastructure phasing work, and general site master planning. So we should be fully funded now, and we'll be looking to do a procurement here within the next couple of weeks to get this work underway, hopefully before the end of the year.
And the owner of the property is also putting skin in the game, so.
Correct.
Great.
And Kevin?
How long will that, just what you described, how long will that take?
So we're hoping for a year, but realistically, 18 to 24 months is more realistic, just based on the timing of things like a wetland delineation and things like that. So,
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Kevin, can you move new business C1 for us?
Resolution 08-25-26-03 of the members of the County of Chautauqua Industrial Development Agency approving entry into agreement with National Grid.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ted. We'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Dan Hetzenrader.
Aye.
Amy Harding.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney.
Aye.
Tom Harmon.
Aye.
Dan Demart.
Aye.
John Healy.
Aye.
Ted Whitman.
Aye.
The resolution is unanimously approved. Next, we'll move into new business D, CCIDA approving entry into agreement with Bellwether Advisors, again presented by Nate.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, this resolution, since we've been relatively successful, state and federal grant awards in the last several years, there really is a lot to responsibly administering and complying with all the requirements, especially for construction projects. So we brought in Bellwether to help us immediately this summer with our compliance with Davis-Bacon prevailing wage and minority and women business procurement goals for the Ripley project, but we seek to use Bellwether services for other grant projects going forward as well.
And just give you an idea, Bellwether played a big part in building the new Bills Stadium. So they have some really good shops, and they have a couple of individuals that, they just eat, sleep, and drink compliance. And so we're like, okay, yep, this is the one. And we interviewed a few firms, and they've demonstrated, so far they've done some, in terms of, lighting things up that, yeah, they're all over it. So.
I think we all understand the complexity of compliance with different issues, but especially with the IDA, having gone through things with the ABO and that, there's just so many little things. It just feels like it's impossible to keep track of it all. So I think having, an organization like this to help us, stay on the right path and checking all the boxes is a good idea.
One comment, Mark mentioned that, he interviewed other firms. I will point out that this and the next resolution are professional services. So they are in theory exempt from any procurement or bidding requirements, but nonetheless, Mark and Nate do a good job at, figuring out who the best person is.
Good point. Tom, can you move new business D1 for us?
Sure will. Resolution 08-25-26-04 for the members of the County of Chautauqua Industrial Development Agency approving entry into agreement with Bellwether Advisors LLC.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Dan, we'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Dan Hetzenrader.
Aye.
Amy Harding.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney.
Aye.
Tom Harmon.
Aye.
Dan Demart.
Aye.
John Healy.
Aye.
Ted Whitman.
Aye.
The resolution is unanimously approved. Move into new business E, the CCIDA approving entry into agreements with CNS Engineering, again, presented by Nate.
So as the board may recall, last year, we received a $500,000 grant award from the US EPA for community-wide site assessments. And with that money, we can do phase 1 and phase 2 environmental site assessments, asbestos surveys, and site-specific reuse planning on known or suspected brownfield sites across the county. We weren't required, but we did do a competitive procurement, and I believe 6 firms responded to our RFP. We interviewed 3 and selected CNS engineers for a contract not to exceed $487,000 over the term, which is the majority of the grant award. So we can work with them to select specific sites and conduct specific environmental work.
It's just real quick. It's so important for when we're trying to attract developers. There's way more to it than saying, hey, this building's available. Well, what do you know about it? So that's what this is really doing. It's kind of queuing these buildings up for redevelopment, providing the contractors or the developers with as much information as possible so they can make an informed decision.
It'll work in tandem with other pre-development activities and grants we have, other EPA funding, the Brownfield Revolving Loan Fund, and some state dollars for planning. So a lot of momentum again on the brownfields and environmental side.
Dan Demart, can you move new business E1 for us?
Yes. Move to approve resolution 08-25-26-05 of the members of the County of Chautauqua Industrial Development Agency approving entry into agreement with CNS Engineers, Inc.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tom. Do a roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Dan Hetzenrader.
Aye.
Amy Harding.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney.
Aye.
Tom Harmon.
Aye.
Dan Demart.
Aye.
John Healy.
Aye.
Ted Whitman.
Aye.
The resolution is unanimously approved. And thank you, Nate, for, all your work, getting all these grants and different things and a lot of pieces and parts.
Team effort. Yep.
We'll move into new business F, CCIDA, BWB approving certain amendments to lease agreements with the 201 West 3rd Street, presented by Mark and Shelby.
So Shelby and I are going to tag team on
Yes.
this. Because it's been quite an effort to really look at this space, look at other space. Our 10-year term, now we've been here 10 years, expired in July. And we started back in February, really looking at, trying to negotiate with Pro on our price here. And we had done some things that, took into account sort of like the cost of the build out that they did and the fact that it would have been paid for over 10 years. Don't know that for sure, but and we tried to negotiate originally with Krog to lower our cost per square foot, and they were not amenable to that. And not to say that we wouldn't have done the due diligence on looking at other facilities but we did spend a fair amount of time looking at a number of other buildings, available space, and things like the Lutheran out on east of here. We looked at the Westgate building down here, the old Jamestown Business College. North Crest, I'm sorry, and then North Crest Business Center, M&T Building. We looked at Willow Bay Commerce Center. We looked at the JCC Annex Building. We looked at the West Side Professional Center and Gear Done Building. So we did a fair amount of due diligence, really looking at those spaces and the cost. And there's no doubt that there is less expensive space out there, okay? However, when we really looked at the whole thing and we looked at, what it would, the timeline on making those spaces conducive to what we do, where they're located, I think it's important that we have a downtown presence. We're sort of in the middle of things here. The disruption of services is the biggest one. And, I didn't really, you go into this, I've never done this before, but when we really got into this, we started looking at all the things that we would have to do in order to move from here. And actually, Phillips Lytle borrowed from some past work they did to just say, hey, these are some of the things you really should be thinking about that you're going to have to do, in order to move into the new space. And I mean, page after page after page of, whether it's changing all of your documents to reflect the new address, sort of rebranding and changing all of our stationery and business cards and telephone and IT. And by the way, we're in the middle of a big production, if you will, for looking at or working on software for data management and for also our accounting. So we're right in the middle of this huge effort. And we met with Gary a couple of times to talk about this. And so as we're out there looking at other space and we're sort of communicating with Krog, it came back to us finally and actually exceeded what our original request was for a reduction in cost, which was about $4 a square foot, approximately reduction. So we did provide to you a term sheet that talks about extending the current lease, but there's an amendment because of the extension, but also there's amendment based on the cost per square foot and the annual increase over time, which has changed as well. So it's really we're looking at about $7,500 per month, which is a reduction of what we've been paying. And we share the operating expenses with utilities and et cetera, like we've been doing in the past. So you want to add to that?
So I will just add, well, I want to back up a little bit and just reiterate that we broached Krog in February with our suggestion or ask with the reduction in cost per square foot. And that was after a lot of back and forth with Mark and I, like looking at, what we would assume the improvements were, and then, any interest if they financed it, and then kind of backed into it, right? So we had a lot of math kind of behind our proposal to them. They came back in April and said no, and that's when we kind of hit the ground running, looking at other spaces. So this has been in the works for a while, and at that April timeframe, we were expecting to move because it was, we have a fiduciary responsibility to the entity where, we can't be paying for luxury space if there are, spaces that could fill all of our needs. So it wasn't necessarily just, the work that would go into the move that had us stay. It was that, he came back and met us and then beat what we originally asked for. Obviously, our presence here is very important. And I just lost the last item that I was thinking. But anyways, so there was just a lot of work that went on behind the scenes, and it was kind of the last minute that it came up. There are a couple items, we're about 90% there with the lease extension. There are a couple items that we'll have to work through administratively, like, you know, what we've paid year to date, how we're gonna adjust that, or all that type of stuff. But moving forward, we do have the bones in place for the lease extension. And I think that's, again, though, to reiterate, you know, we're working on this accounting software that is taking a lot of our time and energy, and a lot of the, you know, kind of administrative side of the move would also add a lot of work onto our team that we, you know, the timing just wouldn't work out.
I'd like to add one more thing, which is that when it looked like you were not going to be able to stay here, Mark and Shelby had me start negotiating a lease with alternate space. And it's only as we got to about the second round of those lease negotiations, I don't know that one caused another, but after that is when your current landlord came back and said, oh, well, maybe we can do
Yes,
something.
we
So
were very far down the road.
yeah, exactly. So I think that, you know, again, Mark and Shelby have sort of positioned you fairly well, in part by getting ready to go elsewhere, to have this landlord come back and say, well, okay, in that case, maybe we'll cut a deal.
Yeah, we're not screwing around.
Yeah.
Great job.
I will also add, every insurance certificate we've secured in the last 10 years with this address for all pilots and loans, we would have to contact with the insured and their insurance policies and let them know that we have moved. I didn't want to have to do that.
Right. And think about every book up there, and there's, you know, probably 5 times that many other documents and agreements where you have a notice address, right? If something happens, here's where the notice comes. And it's something that can be handled, but it's weeks of
Tedious.
administrative work to go and find the particular agreement where this is, and then send a notice to their official addresses there. So that was just one of the things on Mark's memo that you would have had to take care of.
And there was a holdover rate that would have increased our rent here. If it took till, I'm making this up, December 1st for us to move into another space, we would have to pay 150% of the current rate, lease rate here until we're out, a holdover rate. So there was, I mean, there's 1,000 things, but that's another, you know, another compelling reason, like, okay.
And we could have been given 30 days notice.
Oh, yeah.
To move. As
They were
well,
showing the
which
space.
Would have,
Yeah.
really put a damper on.
I have a question, actually.
Sure.
How many other businesses are in this building that would have been affected if we left? Do you think their rents would have all skyrocketed in addition to what they tried to do with us?
So sorry, do you want me to go or do you want to go?
Go ahead.
I was going to talk about that. So we have what I call CAM fees, so common area maintenance, and you know, if they were to repave the parking lot, stuff like that, where it's absorbed amongst all of the tenants. And that is very expensive annually. And what would have happened to the other tenants is their increase, that would have probably doubled for most of them, because we have a lot of space that we are using. So that would have increased tremendously for the other tenants.
I was just curious on that.
Speaking as one of the other tenants, I wholeheartedly agree. And, you know, I was worried because, by the way, our lease is up as well, is, you know, if you had left and they rented the space to someone else at a higher rent, then the rent for others may go up as well. So it sort of sets the market. So I'm happy that you're reducing your rent, because that makes, let's just say, the other tenants make it easier for them.
I'm sure.
By the way, it's nice having Phillips Laddle on the next floor
Yes.
too. That
Yes.
relationship.
They probably charge
So
us.
many things.
And the
Charges travel time, wouldn't they, if they had to go to
Yeah, oh, yeah.
mileage and
Yeah, and time.
I thought.
Yeah, and Millen gives us a lot of documents too, so we have a lot of storage space that we have to worry about.
So.
Well, excellent job. I know you both put a ton of effort into this, you know, a big savings for the IDA, but, you know, it was a lot of work. And the other thing is, you know, we toured some of the other places. They may have been less expensive, but none of them were ready. You know, it wasn't like they're set up ready for the IDA. They were going to need a significant amount of work, some of which would have been done by the landlords, but the IDA would have had a lot of expense, you know, trying to modify these things to make them usable spaces.
Yeah, we expected that we would see the savings in year 3. So years 1 and 2, if we were to move, the savings would have been absorbed in any other capital expenditure. So wouldn't have felt the save for a couple of years.
I think also the staff is happy that we're staying, and that comes into play as well. I mean, we want to make sure that we take care of our staff.
Good point.
John, will you move new business F1 for us?
Yes, resolution 08-25-26-06, approving certain amendments to lease agreement with 201 West Third Street LLC.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kevin. We'll do a roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Dan Hetzenrader.
Aye.
Amy Harding.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney.
Aye.
Tom Harmon.
Aye.
Dan Demart.
Aye.
John Healy.
Aye.
Ted Whitman.
Aye.
The resolution is unanimously approved, and at least that way we'll all end up at the right spot, or else we'd all be going to the wrong location for some. We'll move into new business G. CCIDA approving certain amendment to lease agreements with the County of Chautauqua and the Chautauqua Lake and Watershed Management Alliance, presented by Mark and Millen.
So this is an amendment to the lease to extend that lease with the county Department of Planning and also the Lake and Watershed Management Alliance. They've been tenants of ours for years, and they're good tenants. I wanted to say, and it says it clearly in the resolution, that on a cost per square foot basis alone, it is less than fair market value what they're paying us. However, there are a number of reasons why it makes sense for us to have them as tenants, even at this lower lease rate. Among them is the fact that they bring the county's IT resources to the table. I can't tell you enough how important that is to us, that we have computers that work, that are secure, our phone, making sure that our computers are updated. It's huge. Our emails, all that. And then also the resources that we share with, like, printers and copy paper, et cetera. But to me, the most important reason is that we are one big team and we all need to be together. They were someplace 10 miles away or whatever, right? We're not all together and we're collaborating all the time. The fact that we're all under the same roof is hugely important. So I don't know if you want to add anything else, Millen, but it's basically extending what our deal has been with them over the past, I can't remember if it's been 10 years, but eight or 9 years or something like that. And things have worked out well.
I think that speaks for itself. It's a continuation of what you have now under your property disposition policy. If anything is other than at fair market value, there has to be an explanation as to why. And I think Mark has, done a good job as to why it is important to have these affiliated, if you will, entities under the same roof. So that's sort of the rationale. And there's other things that they bring, services and, other services to the IDA.
Thank you. Ted, can you move new business G1 for us?
Yes, I'll move a resolution 08-25-26-07, approving certain amendments. It's agreements with the County of Chautauqua and the Lake Watershed Management Alliances.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I can second.
Tom? Do a roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Dan Hetzenrader. Amy Harding.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney.
Aye.
Tom Harmon.
Aye.
Dan Demart.
Aye.
John Healy.
Aye.
Ted Whitman.
Aye.
The resolution is unanimously approved. Next, we'll move into new business H, CCIDA Administrative Assistance, presented by Mark, Shelby, and Millen.
So I have CCIDA fees. Oh, okay, it was changed. I have an old version. I'm like, what? So anyways,
Try and keep up.
so, yeah. I gotta go back in the book. I get a draft version and that's what I marked
And that's
up.
what you marked
And it's
up.
been changed. But anyway,
Yeah.
it's fine. So this has to do with our administrative fees. 1% of the project cost is what we charge for our services, okay? In some cases, they don't get mortgage recording tax exemptions, sales tax exemptions, and a pilot. So in that case, in those cases, it might not be a full 1%. So we sort of negotiate that. But I think more importantly, there are often projects that are big projects where the developer asks if we will spread those administrative fees out over time. So 3 years or 5 years. So we want the ability to be able to sort of negotiate those fees and also the terms of how those are paid to the IDA.
Sorry. Yeah, previous to this, the IDA has sort of handled it on an ad hoc basis, right? There was no procedure for when this would come up, right? And some of the larger projects, something in, large solar project or others, we would negotiate the fees. And sometimes it's such a small project that it, barely pencils out, with lower fees even. So this lends some structure to this process. Again, it is rare, and we want to discourage applicants from thinking that your fee is negotiable. But again, this is right in the application, which the board has approved. So we want to sort of set up a process, and the process would be that the project manager, if they get such a request, would refer it to the CFO. I'm thinking the CFO is going to say no, because it's money. But if she decides that there should be some variation of the fee, and the fee is in your policy payable at closing. So if it gets spread out or reduced in any way, the first step is the project manager takes it to the CFO. The CFO says yes, no, or maybe. Whatever the CFO says, if it's yes or maybe, then it goes to the CEO. And then, Mark takes a look at it and sort of thinks, oh, is there some, public reason that we should or should not do this? Or is there, he has a different lens. And then if he says yes, no, or maybe, if he says yes or maybe, then it goes to the chairman. So it's sort of 3 levels of approval. And then if that happens, then the project manager does an internal memo as to what the rationale was and what the decision was. And that allows it to not have to wait until the next board meeting and to, no offense, bother all of you about it. Because what I found is sometimes this comes up very close to closing, right? We're getting close to closing and all the numbers get adjusted and they suddenly realize they have a big check or they don't have any money left over at all. And then that's sort of when this comes up. It comes up often at the last minute. So the thought is we wanted a process that was very clear, and one that you all approved, because in theory, you are delegating the authority to do this to these 3 with that process.
Another point that I'd like to bring up too is not necessarily just the bigger projects, but also, again, the smaller projects, but giving us, the ability to look at, some of the items may be administrative changes. So maybe there's a project that's going through refinance or whatever it may be. This would give us the ability to look at what it's going to cost the company in, manpower or whatever it may be, and charge a fee for those types of items as well. And then, like Millen said, the smaller projects, we can look at, again, what it's going to cost us, if it's going to cost us a lot of time and energy, what the fee should be so that we're covering our expenses as well.
That's a good point.
Trying to make this make sense in my head. So, understand as you've outlined how it functions with a negotiation based on the premise that it's due at closing. But we obviously had the situation, I think, which is like the reverse situation, right? Where there was a project that just continually got pushed out. There's a tremendous amount of agency work completed. And we tried to use that as a little bit of discussion to get the fees when there wasn't a closing date set up, right? But
I'm sorry, is your example where they don't close for quite a while?
Right, and so I guess if this is setting up a framework of approvals, could it be deviated in the reverse way, right? Where you say, hey, this has been going on for 2 years. We need some to cover some of our time and efforts.
We have done that.
Sorry,
And the answer is yes.
right, so
Um,
it's kind of.
Because typically it's due at closing, and you're right, the scenario we were thinking about is extending the fees. But you're right, there's a number of projects that have been outstanding for literally years, and they haven't closed yet. And we have asked companies to say, if you want this to, to stay active, you have to come current on legal and pay, X%, half, quarter, whatever it is, of what the administrative fees that would otherwise be due, because we are spending a lot of staff time. So yes, this would cover that scenario as well.
Right.
Is it already currently? I mean, it sounds like you've already done that.
A couple of times, I'm thinking on some solar deals.
Yep.
We've done that because those in particular, there's a handful of them that have been outstanding for a while. So again, we wanted to sort of bring this topic up for discussion. And this is I think a potential process for figuring out, when to deviate, if you will, from sort of the standard fees.
Yeah. And again, to reiterate, in those examples, that is typically the 1% that's already listed on the application that the board has already approved of. And it's more these solar companies prepaying the fee and it kind of like holding their place, essentially.
From the perspective of an auditor, they would also like to see a policy in place for why we would deviate from a standard agency as well.
Were you about to ask a question?
Sorry, Kevin.
Yeah, no, and maybe, but let's say you got a project, small project, and you've got all kinds of man hours you're gonna see, and then can you adjust the fee?
So this would give us the ability
Well,
going through the,
Upward, yeah.
Upward.
oh. So essentially deviate from what we already approved.
Yeah, and maybe that, I just don't
it.
know that, so I'm not questioning it, I'm just.
I think the technical answer to your question is yes,
Mhm.
because the resolution is any deviation from the, 1% to closing. I don't see that happening very often. Where it'd be sort of like value billing, if you will. But yes, this would cover that scenario. Again, I'm thinking, yes, that could happen. It tends to happen sort of on larger projects where the fee really is already large, but in theory, we could deviate on.
Most of those expenses though are for the legal expenses because they're working through the closings and all the documents and all that. I mean, we do have time in it, but not to the extent that, so the fact that we've gone back and said, look if you want us to extend this thing, keep it active, and you're gonna have to pay up on the legal fees, at least.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Dan Hetzenrader, would you move new business H1 for us?
Yes, I'll move resolution 08253608 CCIDA administrative assistance.
And do we have a second? Thank you, Kevin. Do a roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Dan Hetzenrader.
Aye.
Amy Harding.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney.
Aye.
Tom Harmon.
Aye.
Dan Demart.
Aye.
John Healy.
Aye.
Ted Whitman.
Aye.
The resolution is unanimously approved. Next, we'll move into the executive director's report.
So I'm going to start out with a resolution that was not on the agenda, and there's a reason why, because it came down to the 11th hour here, whether we were going to present it or not. And we decided, based on the feedback that we got from both Mayor Cole and the town supervisor, Sherry Miller, in the city of the town of Dunkirk, that that we would proceed. And I'm gonna give a little background on this first. So Americold, help me here, guys, but Americold asked for a mortgage recording tax exemption because they went through a refinance company-wide. And they originally did not include that in their original request. They came back and said, yeah, we do want that. So we, Christine had a public hearing regarding the matter, and the town supervisor, Sherry Miller, spoke out against it. And he gave the reason that the trucks that use Americold are degrading the roadway, and it's costing the town $7,000 to $10,000 per year to fix that road, and because there's so much, the staging of the trucks as they're entering and entering the facility. So we had a meeting with Americold and we talked about it, and this was just last week, late last week, and talked about it, and they actually had a meeting. Americold had a meeting with the town, and they walked around and they looked at it, and et cetera, et cetera. And Americold came back to us really this morning. 10:09 this morning, and said, hey, we had conversations with the town supervisor. We have reached an agreement between us and the town. It's not memorialized yet. That the town supervisor would be calling me to say that she is good and is not going to speak out against the. I have not heard from her yet. But what we thought we would do is that we would approve, it's up to you, of course, approve the resolution. However, we wouldn't close on it until I hear from the town supervisor that she is satisfied with the agreement between them and Americold. So I think it's a good way, because if it extends till September, it hurts Americold, costs them more money, et cetera. This is a way for us to approve it, but not close on it until, and it'll be my call. I'll let Millen know. I talked to her, everything's good, and then they would close on it. So I don't know if you guys want to add anything else to that?
Yeah, I think you captured it.
Okay.
We've had a couple meetings with them, discussing the feedback, and had another meeting after they met with the supervisor, and to Millen's point, it came at the 11th hour this morning.
11:57 or, whatever that
9.
analogy is. It's a $50 million mortgage. So the savings
It is
is $625,000. And again, backing up, had they asked for it originally as part of the transaction that we've already closed, I suspect you all would have said yes, because we typically approve all three. They did not, because they didn't think they were going to be putting a mortgage on this facility. When they go and do their company-wide financing, the lender wanted a mortgage on this facility to cover the expenditures at this facility. So that's why they are now coming back to us. We held a public hearing because the financial assistance is more than $100,000. Only the supervisor spoke at all. Christine has given to you the original request letter, a transcript of the public hearing, but I think we've described what actually happened at the public hearing, and the mortgage recording tax resolution. Again, it's only mortgage recording tax because you've approved previously both the sales tax and the real estate tax. There's no contingency in the resolution. It would really just be that Mark is instructing me to not close on it unless until he confirms the email that we've seen as of this morning between Americold and the supervisor, that she has withdrawn her objection based on some other discussions that they have had. And again, backing up, Mark and Shelby told Americold that we weren't going to put it on the agenda unless until we heard from the supervisor. That's why it's not on your agenda. And that's why this is sort of coming up at the last minute. So for that, we apologize. But Americold has told us that this is part of their bigger financing. And it would be either inconvenient or costly for them to wait until the September meeting. So that's why the sort of last minute addition to the agenda.
And this is no different than every other project where we will not move ahead with our incentives unless the town is on board with us doing so. So this is another case of that. So we aren't going to move ahead until the town is satisfied.
I point out that that's not a legal
It's
requirement.
not illegal.
But it's just sort of the policy of the staff, at least, is to not even bring it to you unless the town is either on board or in some cases silent about something. But in theory, we would bring it to you pointing out that the public body, whichever it is against it for some reason.
Just, I mean, I don't know, suggestion, and I don't know if you're already thinking this, I would get the confirmation from the town supervisor in via email or in writing.
Yep.
Given that they're on record from a public hearing.
We've seen an email from Americold to the supervisor. And again, that was an hour ago. So we haven't seen a response yet, but that's a good point.
Can contingency language be added to the resolution?
It could, I haven't typed it up. I can, or I guess what I suggested is, since this is approving and not directing, this allows the staff to go ahead with this. And I think, the way that I thought about doing it is just Mark is not going to sign anything, or Mark or Shelby aren't going to sign anything unless until they get that confirmation. So either way is fine with me, because before it closes, that contingency is going to be met.
I mean, I prefer, since it's not on the agenda, to have the contingency language.
Okay. So in the formal resolution, I'm going to add someplace, subject to confirmation by the CEO that the town supervisor has withdrawn her objection.
In writing.
Yes. About that down.
Is the writing also electronic?
Yes. Okay, that's going to be added to the end of section 5, where it says the agency hereby approves the request as set forth in request letter, subject to provisions of this resolution. And I'm going to say, comma, subject to confirmation by the CEO in writing, including electronically, that the town supervisor has withdrawn her objection to the uppercase R request. And that works for you?
Yes.
Anything else from the board? So we're going to be voting on resolution 08-25-26-09. Resolution of the County of Chautauqua Industrial Development Agency authorizing certain matters in connection with its straight lease transaction with Americold Dunkirk Propco LLC, with the addition to section 5 that Millen just read. Any other questions? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Tom. We'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Dan Hetzenrader.
Aye.
Amy Harding.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney.
Aye.
Tom Harmon.
Aye.
Dan Demart.
Aye.
John Healy. Ted Whitman.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to buzz through these really quickly. Just some updates on projects and other stuff. Thought it'd be a good idea to give you an update. 401 Central, that's the bank building in Dunkirk. Development that was completed. They've rented out the residential suites. I think they're still looking to find a tenant for the commercial space on the first floor. That was a $2.4 million project. They're getting DRI, they got some ESD help, et cetera. The Macaroni Building, again, is a peak development project. It's a $2.9 million project. The application is in process, sort of waiting for the reimbursement from the state before they move on to their next project. The Dunkirk Landing, that's the two housing projects in Dunkirk, $38 million project. And there was a groundbreaking, was that last week with the governor was in town? And it was great. It really was. But I think they really get it. They understand that we need housing if we're going to attract people here and attract people to live here and people to fill jobs, et cetera. So that was really great. Immunity Bio, they're hiring away, and they've got probably 12.5 employees right now or so. They're looking to hire another dozen plus kind of high level folks. And we've had a couple of meetings with them also about the housing issue, where they're like, we're trying to recruit these, scientists and, pharmacists, whatever. And we really need housing for them. So we've had a couple of meetings with the city of Dunkirk, identifying places where market rate housing can occur, also affordable housing. So we're really trying to push the envelope on new housing. Working with the planning department, they got a grant through the state, pro housing type grant. And so we're, 400 units created or on the books to be created here in the next, over a 5-year period, and then another 400 in the next 5 years. So all good. Ultra Pack, they received technical assistance from us. They got an Excelsior grant from the state. They're on Franklin Avenue in Dunkirk. And Wave Point, that's closed. Remember, they acquired the big warehouse up in our Chautauqua Bay Industrial Park and have easements, not easements, options on the land that we own. I'm going to meet with Wave Point next week to talk about whether they want to extend that or not. But that worked out. I already talked about Americold. The Bush Building, there's an official listing now through CBRE, I believe it is.
Yep, that's on Invest Buffalo.
Yep, it's on the Invest Buffalo Niagara website. It's a beautiful building. I mean, and it really shows well. It's got everything, right? It's got power. It's got width and height of the building, truck bays, rail, et cetera. So I also sent it to Empire State Development, and RJ Ball might ring a bell, and Christian Mercurio. And so they've all got it on their radar. And what I really like about the listing too, is down right near the end, it says incentives potentially available through the IDA, so that they know when they come and look at it, that, it's a good thing to talk to us as well. So I have high hopes for that building.
Would like to share with the group. I'm not privy to who the developer is or company is, but someone has already put in an offer. So the realtors reached out yesterday to broach the topic of eventually connecting them with us, and that they wanted to talk to the PPU about power too. So there's a possibility you'll be hearing within the next few months who may be purchasing.
Since you said that, there's also Serta Simmons and Trucklight. And these are local manufacturers, have displayed I don't want to say anything more, but made offers, let's say that. So, you know, those three buildings, cross our fingers, could be repurposed here in the near future. We've been working hard on that. So, all good. What else? Oh yeah, and you know, as part of when the governor was here last week, for the ribbon cutting, for Regan projects, Dunkirk Landing housing projects, there was also a ribbon cutting or a steel signing, not a groundbreaking, a steel signing, for the new hospital in Fredonia. And that was terrific as well. And what a big boost to our area. Healthcare is important to businesses, to people locating. They want to know that they healthcare locally. So that's a great project. Wells, there is a ribbon cutting ceremony coming up near the end of this month. And that'll be exciting. I think the governor will be here. I doubt it though, because she was just here. What else? Yeah, the Silver Creek Apartments. If you haven't been by those, wow. You know, I mean, they're up. They're putting the finishing touches on those. We are with the chamber, you know, organizing a ribbon cutting for that. And that will depend on when the state can be here as well. And the Main Road Medical Group, you know, Christine always reports that there's a lot of cars in the parking lot, and they seem to be moving ahead on things. They have not closed on our pilot yet, but we're working towards that. I think that's about it for. Wait a second. See. One last thing, on the Ripley site, everything's moving along great. We're looking at a completion date of somewhere first quarter, early second quarter of 2027. The contractor is staging the equipment out there to put the road, the water, the sewer in. We've been talking with the DOT, right, Nate, about the turning lane.
Significant delay due to DOT.
Yeah, that was an earmark and there was a big delay, but we sort of said, no, we need to rebid this portion of the project in the next 2 weeks. So we need to all be on board with that. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff, but I just wanted to mention that we also have interest from a big developer that we're talking with and negotiating with already for a big chunk of that land. So we're excited.
Good question, Mark. Getting back to the Silver Creek building, my phone's been ringing off the wall. A lot of people want to know when it'll be available, who's accepting applications, who's screening, who's doing. I don't have any of those answers from my constituents.
Yeah, they indicated that first occupancy would be in the beginning of November. Okay. Even as of November 1st, but I think early November.
Is there
And
sorry.
I don't have the information with me today, but I saw it published how they were accepting applications, and I can get back to you on that.
Yeah, you can do that.
I don't know the contact. I'll have to get it to you. That way, when you receive these calls, you can.
Yeah, it's almost one or two a day. I've been receiving, you know,
Okay.
people off the wall want to know what's going on. They want to move. It's going to be expensive. I don't have any information.
Okay, I'll get a contact for you.
Thank you, Kristen.
Good question.
That's good.
Yes. Yeah.
Shows demand.
I don't know. No, I wanted it.
That's all I have.
Okay, great. A lot going on. We
Yeah.
appreciate it. Want to give us a treasurer's report?
Sure. I'll go quickly because there really isn't anything that I haven't already talked about every month. The P&L is looking very healthy. We do have, again, I've mentioned this the last few months, that risk of about 422,000 that if a certain project does not close, we may pull that out because that is booked. Because it's literally at the finish line, just waiting for their financing and all fun stuff to happen. So if that were to be pulled out, the IDA column in the P and L, instead of 777, it would be around 355. So we're still sitting pretty, from a P and L perspective. As for the balance sheet, again, I like to call out the cash position because it's a little misleading sometimes. The IDA is comfortable sitting around 2 million, going into the Ripley project. We expect to actually, have we received? No, we haven't received a bill for that yet, but, we're expecting to see that. And you know, the IDA will have to basically fund, and then we apply for reimbursement from all of the grants. So we're sitting comfortable there. Our loan funds, we have about, I'd say like 100,000 in CRLF, about maybe just under $1 million in all tech, and I'd say about 1.5 million in EDA. That would be ready to fund if we, you know, accept applications or whatever, which is, again, that could be eaten up pretty quickly, depending on, you know, the size of the project that comes in through applications, but that's kind of where we're sitting. No, you know, no worries on any liabilities or payables, anything like that. We're sitting pretty. The liabilities that are sitting out there, that's basically just payroll accrual with the vacation and all of that fun stuff. Just accruals. And then I'll jump to the comparison versus budget. We're sitting above budget right now. Most of the variances are just due to timing because we tried to guess when, you know, certain grants would be utilized and expenses would come through. So any variances really are related to that. Again, if we were to pull out that 400,000 in that project, if that does not close, we're basically flat to budget. So concerns. Speaking of budget, we will be starting the budget for 2027 next month, because then we'll bring it to you for approval in October.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? We have a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The treasurer's report has been accepted. At this point, I would entertain a motion to go into executive session for the purposes of discussing the financial or credit history of a particular person or corporation. In particular, I would like to discuss the status of our loan portfolio and the financial and credit status of some of our borrowers. Do I hear such a motion? Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll go into executive session.
And then most importantly,
Meatloaf, mashed potatoes, tomato salad, rolls, corn, and brownies for.
Nap time this afternoon.
2:00.
We are back in open session, and I would like to report that there were no actions or votes taken during the executive session, and therefore no minutes of the meeting were taken. Any old business to come before the board? Hearing none, we'll consider the meeting adjourned. Just a note that the next IDA board meeting will be September the 22nd at 10:30, and we'll be in Dunkirk at Center for Innovation and Economic Development.
I gotta remember that.
Yes.
I don't want to come